Hi, I'm Vin Imbesi from Mobotix. I'm the Business Development Manager and Eastern Regional Sales Manager for the US for Mobotix. Joining me is Kris. Kris, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kris Greiner. I'm the Vice President of North America for Skyla.
Yeah, today's topic's a good one. We had over 65 registrations worldwide, so we have a worldwide audience here for this. And it's a good topic, too. I'm glad you guys decided to join. Threat detection and AI analysis, artificial intelligence analysis. The agenda really is to introduce Mobotix, talk a little bit about kind of what we're doing and how we're participating in the execution of these analytics when it comes to capturing and analyzing video. Then I'm going to hand it over to Kris. Kris is going to talk a little bit about Skyla and start to detail various analytics in terms of what they offer and what they look like and how they're executed and offered and that sort of thing. But all in all, I think this is going to be very informative for a bunch of you. So without any further delay, let's get rolling. So I have a very brief intro to Mobotix for those of you who don't know us. So Mobotix is actually a pretty large company. You may not see our name on every banner or email, but we're a global company. We were established in 1999. And for 21 years or so, we have been a major provider of commercial grade security surveillance equipment for the world. We hand make our cameras. You see the video here. This is our headquarters in Langmeal, Germany. And we hand make our cameras at our own headquarters. And we're pretty unique in the regards that we control everything about our device. So all research, all development, camera assembly, quality control, repairs, all software development, all firmware development, it's all handled by Mobotix at our headquarters in Germany. So soup to nuts, we control everything about our device. And what that has done, it's really allowed us to produce a product that is very, very high quality in terms of build quality and hardware, and also very, very tightly secured in terms of a device sitting on a network. Again, because the components are from Europe, our chipset is not from China, our chipset is from Japan, and the firmware is developed in-house, again, by. So, we're pretty widespread. Domestically here, we're headquartered in the great New York City. And like I said, we've been around for a long, long time, and we've sold cameras all over the planet for a variety of reasons. We tend to not think of ourselves as just a camera, right? So Mobotix was really conceived as an IT device by a bunch of IT people and then adapted for video security, as opposed to a lot of the other products out there that was an evolution of analog security cameras into the IP, IoT, internet security cameras. So the approach for Mobotix has always been a little different. Different in terms of the way it looks, different in terms of the way it's managed, and different in terms of what Mobotix conceived of in terms of what a camera would be capable of doing when it comes to integrating with the network, right? So you'll notice that we get very granular in some of the stuff that we do, and I'm not reviewing any of this in detail. I'm basically just giving you an overview, right? So we can do all kinds of stuff that other cameras can't do. We can do dual layer encryption. We can install certificates on the cameras. The cameras themselves can do intrusion detection by default. So, you can basically tell the camera, hey, camera, if you detect more than 3 or 4 or 5 more failed in login attempts, lock the camera down, record the IP address trying to get into the device, and send an email notification alerting that there's been possibly a potential breach, right? And this kind of ties into a story I tell about my one of our customers in Westchester County. So Westchester County Police Department is deploying a lot of Mobotix cameras, and they're using it for like license plate capture systems. And the lieutenant was showing a visiting colleague his license plate capture system, and they were looking at stolen cars. So he pulls up all the stolen cars, and the visitor was kind of messing with him a little bit. And he said, "Okay, you've got a lot of stolen cars in Westchester County. I can't believe you have this kind of problem. Maybe you should do something about it." And the lieutenant, to his everlasting credit, looked at him and said, "No, you have the same problem. You just don't know it because you have nothing reporting it." Right? And that's kind of what this is doing. If you had any security camera, traditional security camera on a network, and that's under attack, a malicious attack through the internet, through the network, you are never going to know. But if you have a Mobotix product, because again, we are not just a camera, we're very in depth in terms of what we're doing, you could possibly avoid that whole scenario. So that's just one kind of cool example of things that we do differently. But again, because this is a kind of brief introduction and overview, I'm not really going to dive into Mobotix in terms of the full catalog for products or cut sheets, nothing like that. But I do think it is important to talk about Mobotix in terms of what we do differently than traditional cameras, because you'll kind of understand why we're so successful specifically with running analytics, either some of the ones that we're talking today or others. So the first thing to kind of know about us is that since inception, since 1999, we've been very heavy in terms of having voice over IP protocols and microphone and speaker protocols built into our products. So many of our devices have a built-in microphone and a built-in speaker, and you can integrate with phone systems via SIP protocols. So it does a couple of cool things. If you wanted to, if you were a security guard and you're looking at the camera and you want to talk to somebody that you can see on video through the camera, speaker, and microphone, you can do that via software, assuming you have compatible software, or you can pick up your actual voice over IP handset, dial an extension, and then have two-way communication through the camera, speaker, and microphone as if it's an intercom. That's pretty cool stuff. The camera also, because it basically is integrated with the phone system, can dial out. So during certain events, if you want the camera to initiate that call and open up two-way communication, you can do that. So basically, our cameras are also basically doubling as points of contact on your existing voice over IP system. Our devices have built-in logic, edge process devices. Again, this is another thing Mobotix has always done. Traditionally, it basically means the camera has the ability to make decisions based on what the camera sees or detects without a server. We sell cameras that basically act as their own server, their own computer. So there is no NVR. There are no Mobotix IoT NVRs. The cameras can host their own video and just distribute that video all around without the need of additional server. And that ties in directly with what we're going to talk about here momentarily. They're modular. You know what? I'm going to skip this one too because there's more stuff I want to get into. Solid state. This is an important one. Okay, so since inception, since '99, Mobotix was conceived with the idea that there would be no moving parts in any of our products. So there's no fan, there's no heater blower, there's no cut filter. Nothing is moving in any of our devices. So what it's done, it's resulted in a very well documented 8 to 9 year lifespan. Very, very commonly, cameras will last 10, 11, 12 plus years. It's just what we're known for. If you ask around, you will see that we kind of have that reputation. And actually, we will go back and patch cameras. We just patched cameras in 2019 that were released 15 years prior to that, because we know we still have some, not a ton, but some cameras that are out there that long and that they're still running. All right. So, and that is a direct result of being solid state, because the fans, the cut filter, these are common components that fail. So what this means in a world where, any camera can run analytics, right? Fine, because they can provide video. But why are we different? Why Mobotix? Our camera is the most reliable device on the planet in terms of delivering video security, right? So we are exceptionally good in any place where the camera is hard to reach, or a camera that's being relied upon for a critical use, such as maybe a camera being used for fire prevention, or a camera being used for facial recognition, for access control, right? Or a camera being used to evaluate visitors for body temperatures. You could have the most phenomenal analytic system on the planet. If you don't have eyes to be able to provide those analytic system with the video it needs, your whole system is down. So time and time again, Mobotix has been relied upon to provide the hardware for a lot of these analytics companies to run upon. So we are not just a camera. That's why this is a really good topic. We're not just a camera providing video to the analytics company. We are bringing significant value because specifically of the reliability and also the imaging. Look, if you know anything about cameras, you know it's not just about resolution, right? 4K, 8K now, they're higher than that, right? But Mobotix has always been known for providing crystal clear images, very, very high clarity in the images that we're producing. So again, it's not just resolution, it's a lot in terms of lighting and image processing and that sort of thing. So we've always been built with the highest in optics that we could get our hands on. And furthermore, we're really popular with analytics in terms of imaging for very, very specific reasons. Number one is that we have factory focused lenses, right? So no moving parts, that means we have no varifocal lenses. So you select the lens that you need, it's never gonna go out of focus because it's not moving. And when you're running analytics on a fixed scene, that's actually kind of important. So we do well because the image is not gonna go out of focus. Number two, we use a larger aperture in our products. So again, premium optics. That's what robotics likes to talk about. So we're actually using 1/2-inch aperture versus the standard, which is about 1/3 inch aperture. So what I'm basically saying is it lets more light into the sensor, right? More light into the sensor produces a better image. A better image gives these analytics companies more information to run their analytics on and to process their algorithms. So we're providing the analytics companies like Skyla more information to put them in a position to do what they're supposed to do. So we are contributing to the solution as opposed to just being, again, a traditional camera. And then finally, and this is why I skipped modular, our cameras have the ones being used for analytics typically have 2 sensors, like this one right here. So we'll have an HD sensor on the left and a thermal sensor on the right, in this case with temperature evaluation. And that's important because, as Kris will show you, you could run multiple analytics simultaneously. So if you just have one camera, you're doing one or the other. We're able to provide an analytics company like Skyla the ability to evaluate someone for body temperature, and then independently of that, whatever other host of analytics you want to run on top of that, mass detection, facial recognition, threat detection, all of that stuff. So we're in a secure place to do that as well. And we're decentralized. That has made us significantly different. So what that basically means is, look, this is a traditional camera deployment. You have cameras go into a recorder on a network, go into a main server somewhere. Mobotix looked at this in '99 and thought, we don't like this. If someone steals my recorder, if my recorder catches on fire, if it doesn't power on, my entire camera system is down. It's totally out. So Mobotix back in '99 decided, okay, we're going to start putting SD cards in cameras with the idea of the cameras storing their own footage. So that's what we've done. We still do it today. Every camera that we ship ships with a 4 gigabit SD card. The newer cameras ship with a slightly larger SD card. And the cameras, we sell camera/recorders, NVRs, built into one device. Now, if you go back a second ago when I was talking about protocols and edge logic and all these other things, on top of that, you can basically kind of get the picture now that we don't just sell cameras. We're basically selling cameras/NVRs/servers built into one device. And that's what we're bringing to the table, including built-in speaker and microphone, by the way. So really complex stuff. So from an architecture standpoint, you don't even need a central server. You can put to handle the NVR. Each camera stores its own footage, and you store the footage directly on the camera. You get a free piece of software that sits on a viewing client, and you then have a license-free architecture to have a video security deployment. When it comes time to doing these analytics, what it means basically is, if you were going to do a threat detection camera and it's in the middle of nowhere, or if it's in a part of the building where you can't get networking to, or you just want to make the most simplistic, maybe it's a lobby, a simplistic application possible, you could put a camera, a Mobotix camera, which again is its own NVR, a small Scyla server running the analytics, and now you don't need space for an NVR. There's no NVR, there's no NAS, there's no other server. It's it. Camera, Scyla hardware, and the rest is basically done on those 2 devices and through the network. So we're pretty advantageous in that way. If you wanted to plug us into your existing camera system, you can do that as well. Our cameras have OnViv on them, so we work really well with the Genetec, the Milestones, ISS, all of those other VMS platforms, in which case you would just simply plug our device onto their camera system and integrate them seamlessly. That's our free software. Okay, 2 slides on thermal, because this is kind of important. So if you've never asked yourself what thermals are doing, this is actually going to be kind of interesting to you. So this is the light spectrum, right? You can see. You and I, with our eyeballs, we see the rainbow. We see right about here to right about here, 390 to 770 nanometers. That's the same spectrum of light, same little portion of light that HD cameras are seeing, right? That's why it all looks the same. Thermal cameras are not looking at light. As you can see, they operate way on the other side of the spectrum. Thermal cameras are looking at radiation. They're looking at heat signatures. They're taking that information in, they're digitizing that, then they're creating an image based off the information coming into the camera. Pretty cool stuff. It's been around a while. There's actually 2 types of thermals, and people don't necessarily always realize this. There's the one at the top left, which is just called thermal, right? For security application, perimeter protection. If police are looking for somebody in the woods, they're looking for, they're using this camera right here. That's one type, everyone knows that. There's a second type of thermal camera. It's called thermal radiometric. Thermal radiometric cameras are not meant for security applications. They are meant specifically when the camera is being deployed as a tool to measure temperatures and objects, right? So we historically have been making these for 6 or 7 years now. We've been deploying them to measure generators for temperature, for preventative maintenance, circuitry. We could monitor for fire, early prevention for fire warnings, that sort of thing. And then most recently for elevated body temperature. But I bring this up because people don't realize just because a product has a thermal sensor in it, it doesn't mean that product is any good or even suitable for recording temperatures and objects, let alone body temperature. Body temperature, you're looking at a very small window, right? Where we're all 98 to 10, 103, maybe 102 in worst case scenario. That's pretty small. You have to have a really, really sensitive piece of hardware to be able to do that, to be able to get that information in. And we're very proud to say that we've kind of been recognized as a global leader in being able to reproduce accurate readings well enough to be able to use in this manner. So in this case, we're providing the sensor to Scyla to run their analytics on, but again, it starts with the quality of the sensor, and ours is world class. All right, what cameras are we talking about? Now, I told you we are not going over the full portfolio. I do have plenty of cameras, but in the interest of time, we're just going to talk about the one or two that we're going to be addressing today. This is the M16. This ships with 2 empty eye sockets. You basically pick whatever 2 sensors that you want, and you plug them in, and you're good to go. Now, the reason it has 2 is there's no movable cut filter, right? So if you need to see at nighttime, you need that cut filter to move so it can receive the IR that's being flooded into the scene. So if you don't have that moving part, you simply need a sensor for day and a sensor for night. Now, this is also our thermal camera. When you plug a thermal sensor into it, it becomes a thermal sensor. So when you talk about elevated body temperature, this typically is the one people are using. You've got an HD sensor on one side, a thermal sensor on the other side, built-in speaker and microphone, and built-in LEDs. And again, everything is kind of fixed, and this is the one that we've been deploying all over. Another similar one, which we're going to go into a very lesser degree, it's just a flexible way to just install a camera. So basically, this is the camera base. It has 2 USB ports that come out. You have 2 little optical sensors like this, and you can plug any 2 sensors you want. So any 2 6-megapixel sensors, or any 2 thermal sensors, or any combination. So 1 thermal and 1 HD sensor. We're going to talk about this one less, but it may come up, very well may come up later. So I wanted to make sure I am able to introduce this because anywhere you can recess a sensor like this, you can have a 6-megapixel sensor evaluating the scene for analytics. This is the same one we're using in turnstiles. So I mentioned earlier, we do a lot with analytics. So in this case, we were being used for facial recognition for access control, and we have the LEDs right on the sensors themselves. So it was a popular choice. All right. Couple slides and then maybe 2 slides left and we're done. I wanted to introduce this kind of briefly. This is Mobotix 7. Everything I've talked to up until this point has been traditional Mobotix 6. Mobotix 7 was launched about a year ago. It basically took our concepts and injected steroids into them, right? So we've always been edge process. We've always been self-contained. We've always had the ability to make decisions. Mobotix 7 basically introduces an app platform with the idea that the camera is going to run analytics on their own. Now, we're not going to talk about any of these right now, but my point is Mobotix recognized a trend in video security. And I want to play a snippet from a video right here to kind of demonstrates that this trend has been recognized. And then we'll use that as an introduction into what Kris is going to be talking about. You may want to turn your speakers down. I'll give you like 3 seconds to turn it down just in case it's loud. 1, 2, 3. What I really like about this video, what I find is actually useful and informative, is that if this were 10 years ago, this trailer commercial video would have been security, 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 security. You would see people faking robberies, you'd see people breaking in, you'd see all different kinds of stuff. But what you actually saw in here, you saw threats and you saw security, but you also saw efficiency. I mentioned operation, making your business more successful. So what this is, what you see around you, what you see is video security as a whole, not just Mobotix. We're all moving towards making cameras into tools, right? So security cameras started as simply providing video for archive video to see what happened, right? That's what it used to be. Most recently, it became, okay, we want to see what happened, but we also want to see what's happening now. So while what used to be simply archive video became archive video, and also live streaming on one or multiple cameras, eyes on your facility. You can see what's happening around you. The next stage in evolution of this is, okay, show me archive video, show me what's happening around my video, but tell me what you're seeing, right? How can we make video security into tools that make my facility more safe or safer, more efficient? How can I deploy analytics to save me money? How can I deploy analytics to help me run operating procedures that I might normally not be able to operate? How can I make my business more successful? I want to keep track of how many people come in, what their gender is. I want to see how many people come in at 5 o'clock versus 7 o'clock for staffing. You're seeing cameras become much, much greater than simply retroactive security elements of the facility. They're becoming proactive tools that are going to provide real-time information to you to improve the way you operate your facility or your business. So in short, and before here, I'm going to introduce Kris. From a Mobotix perspective, we're exceptionally durable. We're very cyber secure. We've been doing thermal cameras for a long, long time, but most of all, we fit really anywhere where you're trying to make videos, not just into a dummy video system, but into something much more proactive and intelligent. So let me just give you 1 second. I will hand this back over to Kris.
Yeah, thanks for all that, Vin. That's some really good information. You guys make incredible technology.
Oh, thank you. There we go. Kris, I believe you have control.
Yep, let me do a share here.
Everyone's going, finally. Finally, we know about the cameras. It's just a camera. It's not just a camera. We don't make cameras.
Great. Can you see my screen?
I do, yes.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks for that, Vin, and thanks for that introduction. Let me start off by telling everyone a little bit about who Scyla is. We develop AI-powered video analytics for real-time threat detection. So we're using computer vision and machine learning to identify objects, actions, and behavior anomalies. And so by doing that, that allows us to detect things, physical threats like guns, knives, fights, elevated body temperature, shoplifting, intruders, PPE like face masks, for example. And Scyla's mission is we're here to empower the private security industry with that next-gen AI solution. And our niche is that physical security detection. And one thing that we do is we add intelligence to your existing video surveillance system or cameras or CCTVs that are already in place. Historically, everybody's surveillance systems, something bad happens, you go back, you check the video footage, say, yep, that's the bad guy, okay, done. But by adding Scyla to monitor those video cameras in real time, all those video streams, it allows your system to be reactive or proactive and identify those threats in real time. And when a threat is identified, we detect that threat, we analyze it, we identify it, and then we send that alerts, real-time alerts, to a browser-based dashboard. We integrate with multiple VMS systems like Milestone, Genetec, multiple others. We have browser-based, or we have mobile apps for both iOS and Android for push notifications. And again, we work with existing cameras that are already in place, existing infrastructures. The better the camera, the better the result. But and one question I often get asked is, what's the minimum specs on a camera? We like to start at a 2 meg 1080 HD camera. And anything better than that, the better the result, better the camera. So we work with CCTVs, thermal cameras like Mobotix and their M16s for the body temperature detection. One thing about Scyla is we work with moving backgrounds. So things like drones, body cams, dash cams, helicopters. We can detect those threats, opposed to having the cameras traditionally that have to be stationary and fixed. So we take our solutions and we've bundled for 4 different niches. And we took some of the more common things that are that the different industries use. We have a suite for COVID compliance, industrial safety, retail suites, and physical safety. So right now, the big thing is how are we all going to get back to work? Well, last year, everybody was running out and they were buying, impulse buys. They were buying body temperature detection. That caused some confusion in the marketplace. All of the systems that were out on the market at that time were essentially designed for one-to-one. You stand 8 feet away from the camera, X marks the spot, 1 to 2, 3 seconds, to scan you. And they're essentially dumb thermometers. Anything inside that big green box is going to trigger an alert. So I'll go into that a little bit about how those work in a few minutes. But some of the things that we bundled together is along with that body temperature detection, the face mask, the social distancing, occupancy counting, contact tracing, different ways that you can mitigate the spread of COVID. Anytime you can eliminate a touch point, you help stop that spread. And we could also add in here a couple other bullets, like replace the traditional time card systems for time and attendance. We can integrate with third-party access systems and lock and unlock a door based on somebody's ability, the fact that they're healthy. One of the other suites is retail. Some of the things that are commonly asked for in retail is occupancy counting, social distancing monitoring, shoplifting and employee theft, heat maps, so you can track the flow of people. So you can use that for marketing efforts to redirect the flows. Industrial safety, we can monitor for PPE like face masks, different personal protection equipment, secondary smoke and fire detection. We can monitor parking areas for illegal parking, for parking safety, make sure everybody's doing the right thing there. And again, COVID-19 mitigation measures can be spread into that, or could roll into that as well. And then, of course, physical security, where we're going out and we check for firearms, for guns, for knives, intrusion detection, fights, vandalism, loitering, set digital fences, a lot of different things that we can do. Mentioned drones. Scyla does have the ability to work with moving backgrounds. So it's some pretty cool stuff that people are doing out there. We've got 8K cameras mounted on helicopters that are using it to locate people that are out after maybe a curfew, or locate individuals that are out that aren't wearing masks, or people that are carrying guns. And all of that can be seen from moving pieces of equipment. So the one thing about our technology, we are a true AI. Scyla is truly a market disruptor. We're a relatively young company, a startup just over the last couple of years, and we've made a real market impact just over the last 12 months. We like to say, because we are server-based, we like to say that we are the Netflix of analytics. We run on powerful CPUs, powerful GPUs, and we are a subscription as a service, or a service as a subscription. So kind of like a Netflix. So you're always getting that bigger, better, badder content, right? That is, on powerful servers, versus embedded analytics, which we like to call the DVD of analytics, right? You're limited to the processing power of that camera. You're limited to the version of the software, and that's the best it's ever going to get, aside from maybe a flash update for something. But with us, you're always getting the biggest, baddest, latest and greatest. So let me go in and tell you a little bit about our object detection for threats. We are right out of the gate. There's no training, no learning for our solution. So right out of the gate, when you install it the first time, we can tell the difference between, guns. We can identify guns, knives. We can tell the difference between a shotgun and a rifle. That's how accurate we can get, and that's without training. And so our gun detection, our object detection, is 99.99%. And because we are machine learning, the longer that we are in a environment, we learn the environment, we learn from any false detections, and the system actually gets more accurate with time. And that's for all of our different modules. So let me show off. Sometimes a video is worth 1,000 words. Let me show a quick video of an active shooter being detected. So we identify the active shooter because we identify the gun. And one thing to note that when we get eyes on this person, we track that person from camera to camera to camera. And we're doing that based on their physical attributes, not facial recognition. So notice that he does not have a gun in his hand right now. So if somebody has hidden their gun, if they ditched their gun, once that active shooter has been identified, we keep eyes on him. And so he's not going to be allowed to blend back into the crowd if he's trying to escape. And so at the same time that when he's first identified, the camera that picks that active shooter up pops to the foreground on the VMS. It starts streaming live for the monitoring facility. And we start sending out push notifications with thumbnail photos of who that person is, what kind of weapon it is, where he is located, and push that out continuously to security personnel or police so that they can keep eyes on him. And we can do that again with multiple people as we're going through. Again, the way that we identify that individual is based on the appearance. Much like your eye would see somebody and your brain would remember what he looks like, we're doing that with the AI. The camera sees him, the AI remembers what he looks like. And again, that's based on physical appearance, from his shoes to his pants to the color of his shirt, the designs, hats, tattoos, anything that would uniquely identify that individual. So I'll run through, it's just an example of what our dashboard would look like, or does look like, a mobile device. They can be easily customized to show any and everything, for multiple cameras to a single camera, and that's throughout an enterprise. And one thing about our object detection, we just don't identify whether or not an object is a gun, for example. Because a cell phone can be disguised as a gun, we also measure the degree of aggressiveness. And I'll use a cell phone as an example. So, you don't want to send an alert every time somebody puts their cell phone up and, makes a call. But if somebody had a gun that was disguised as a cell phone, we measure that degree of aggressiveness. So if somebody's holding that gun in a threatening position, we look at those two things together. We go, hey, we know that's not a gun, that's a cell phone, but you're kind of in a threatening position. So we better have a human look at this and make the ultimate determination. And that's when we'll send that alert to security or a monitoring facility or to the mobile device.
And what I think is really, really cool about analytics like that is that it just exponentially increases response time. So if you've got an active shooter like that and the camera detects it automatically, sends an alert, what's the alternative? I mean, typically you wait for them to start shooting and then have somebody report it to security. Whereas if you've got the cameras constantly looking for a threat, you're going to be alerted immediately and have a much safer facility in that manner.
By the time somebody actually shoots, fires a shot, there's damage has been done. But if we can identify an active shooter in a parking lot, as they're getting out of the car and walking to a front door, we can integrate with third-party access control systems and lock the doors. We integrate with crisis communication solutions like Intrepid, Intrado. We can integrate with multiple, of those to help communicate with law enforcement once that threat's been identified.
And if you have Mobotix cameras, can you leverage, I'm going to throw my stuff in here when I can, Kris. If you have Mobotix cameras, they've got speakers, you could then tell the Mobotix cameras to broadcast a message, there's been a gun, please lock down, or please proceed to the exit, and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And again, once we identify that active shooter, we monitor him as he moves from camera to camera to camera about that campus or through that facility. So we always have eyes on him and always know where he is, even if that gun is no longer in sight. So now I'll move on to the body temperature detection. And this is where we really shine with Mobotix. And Mobotix has really stood out with their cameras and the quality of their equipment. And since we are server-based, we can have a central server in an enterprise environment managing multiple cameras. Depending on the server, it can manage 10, 20, 30 or more cameras. And whenever any detection is made, then we set up a workflow and determine how you want to have those notifications go out. So we would set up like a funnel point, like in a K-12. When that bell rings and hundreds of kids flood the hall, we set the cameras up to right at the funnel points where everybody goes through, and we can scan those people multiple times a day. But because everything, the whole COVID and body temperature is changing, people aren't just buying solely for the body temperature anymore. They're looking for other features and functionality, like the face mask detection, like the occupancy counting, like the video contact tracing capabilities, and social distancing. So all of those things now are kind of working together, and we can do all of that with the cameras, and it extremely well. Let me show you a quick video on our body temp. Again, anybody that's in the field of view will pop up. We scan them. We don't log, store, record anything. We are literally adding intelligence to the existing VMS that's out there. And so by the fact that we do not do any of that, we are CCPA and GDPR compliant and don't violate any HIPAA laws. So I'll go into the next. One of our other modules is our intrusion detection, where we can go out, we can determine, we can detect the difference between humans, between vehicles, for older legacy equipment that's out there with the motion detection. Almost every motion detection camera is a false alert. But we have an API where all of those motion detection alerts can be filtered and run through a Scylla server. And we will watch for humans or vehicles and only send real alerts. But we also, let me show you another video of our intruder detection at work. So essentially what we're doing is adding intelligence to the cameras that are already sitting there passively recording. We can set a zone, we can set times. So if anybody breaches that zone, then we're going to trigger that real-time alert. And there's a lot of applications for this. We have some professional stadiums, sports stadiums, where they have 700 cameras, full-time patrolling security. They have video walls where they have people watching 24/7. We had one of our customers report that they had somebody scale the wall, scale the ramp, break into the stadium. It was a drunk guy. They called him their drunk Spider-Man. And he scaled the wall, ran in, started running the bases, took selfies at home plate, and then broke into the gift shop, started trying on jerseys. And after that, he left them a note and said, "Your security sucks," and left and got clean away. And so what we did for them in that case is we used our intruder detection solution to go in. We set up a perimeter of cameras and added the intelligence to them, and we watch for any human or vehicle that is in a zone during the time of day that it shouldn't be. And when it is, we send that instant notification to security, both the patrolling security on their mobile apps, as well as the video management system for the people that are managing that in their monitoring facility. And that camera that detects it pops to the foreground, starts streaming live, and again, giving the constant updates to security. And we can do that same thing with parking. So we can set parking zones. So if you have an area that, and I'll use this same stadium as an example, 3 hours before a game, nobody's allowed to park out front or next to the stadium. So we set the zones, and any illegal parking is going to be triggered immediately. And at the same time, we are identifying whether something is a motorcycle, whether it's a car, whether it's a truck. And we can also ignore emergency vehicles, fire trucks, police vehicles. So it's just a quick blurb on our intrusion detection. One of our other modules, very intriguing module, is one of my favorites, is our anomaly detection and behavior recognition system. So we go out and we look for behavior anomalies. So we can see things like fighting, smoke and fire, shoplifting, wrestling, vandalism. I'll show a video of a shoplifting detection in retail. So there's different ways. Historically, retail has the traditional approach where they monitor video walls, but a human can only watch 4 or 5 monitors for 4 or 5 minutes before you start missing things. You have security guards that don't always see anything that's obvious, but the cameras are always watching. We never blink, we never get tired, we never come in late. But Skyla is watching every camera 24/7 and watching for those anomalies. And so if we see somebody that's doing shoplifting, acting abnormal, if a fight breaks out, then we're going to trigger that alert, get some human eyes on them, and let a human ultimately make that decision about whether it's a security problem. Here's an example of security, for a fight detection in a crowd. The second it breaks out, we identify that it's a threat. We identify that it's a fight. We're going to start sending push notifications to the security that is responsible for just that area or just that section. And the monitoring facility is going to have the cameras that detect the fights pop up live. And those cameras start streaming. We'll show, we talked about that we work with legacy cameras, right? And so here is an example of us using, you can see it's a poor quality camera and people have those, but we're going to detect a fire that breaks out on the motorcycle, on the gas tank. And the second that breaks out, we're going to start triggering an alert. And you can see, even though the camera is of poor quality, we still can identify the fact that it's a fire that's breaking out. And I'll show that again. Now, things like intruders, we can easily identify the humans. Now, this would be a case of using somebody's existing camera that is that's out there that doesn't work very well. That's of low resolution. We're going to have troubles identifying like a gun or a knife, but we can easily identify humans or that fire that breaks out. We have a lot of different successes that we've got out in the field, and to tell you the real life case for Daimler, we installed Mobotix cameras at their factories across the country, and as the employees walk into work, we scan their temperature, we look for the face mask, we make sure they're social distancing, we make sure that they don't have a gun and that they're not fighting, and we can tie into their database of employees, and using the facial recognition, we can clock them in for work, eliminate the need for that time card, and tap into that third-party access control system, unlock the door, and let them walk into work. And that's all contactless. And once they get into work, then we tap into we monitor the cameras for their existing videos that are already in place, and we watch for the PPE, and we watch for the different things that they want to monitor, like for COVID mitigation. We can do the heat mapping and track the workflow of the employees. And so when they have a COVID cleanup crew that's following and going around and cleaning up everything, they can ignore the areas that are getting less traffic. Maybe there's a restroom that hasn't been used for 6-8 hours. There's no sense in going in and cleaning that. But they can focus their cleaning efforts on the areas that really need that. Other Major League Baseball, their headquarters put us in as they're trying to get a plan for returning back to work. How are we going to make this our office environment safe for employees and for guests? Well, we monitor people when they get off the elevator. We capture them, whether they turn left, turn right. We got back-to-back M16s looking at everybody walking through. And if somebody doesn't have the face mask, we set up a workflow. And we have a database that was provided to us of employees and security and cleaning crew. And we can identify who that person is and send them an email or push notification to their phone and say, hey, start wearing your face mask. First warning, second warning, please use your face mask, and let those people self-monitor. And at the same time, we set up a parallel workflow that goes to security that monitors all of those notifications and all of those alerts. And at the same time, while we're looking for the COVID mitigation things like the temperature and the masks, we're looking for guns, we're looking for fights, we're looking for any anomalies, and just trying to make that a more safe environment. Like I said, Scylla AI has truly been market disrupting. We've come out, our stuff works, and it's really being embraced and adopted in multiple different verticals, whether it's hospitals, USC hospitals, Daimler factories, Clark County School District, the 5th largest school district in the country, We do the airports in the Middle East. Again, Major League Baseball has adopted us, and we integrate with multiple different other solutions. Mobotix is one of our best partners, and Milestone, Genetech, NX. So appreciate you guys taking the time to hear it. Vin, do you have anything you would like to add?
No, we as Mobotix, we get excited. We like working with analytics companies because they make our products perform better. So if you look at human body temperature, elevated skin temperature evaluations, we can do it. We can do it obviously on the hardware side. We have software that does do it, but it's not nearly as robust in terms of being able to provide analysis on all the information coming in, and it's also not as easy to use, or it doesn't have reporting capabilities that Skyla has. So we get excited pairing them up. It seems to work really, really well, and I like it because it makes Mobotix look better, even better than it would be on a kind of a less robust software platform. So it's a solid partnership. Seems to be working out well.
We are server based. We can host in the cloud. We're cloud agnostic. We support Azure, AWS, Google Cloud. We support on-premise, if security requirements require that, on-premise servers. We support edge devices or a hybrid mix of any of those. We support Xavier and Nano devices for NVIDIA. Because I mentioned we do all of our analyzing and processing on GPUs. NVIDIA is our platform of choice, and it truly is incredible, the accuracy, what we can look for, and the fact that we are true AI. The system learns. It learns from its mistakes and just gets more and more accurate with time, much like a child or a human when you're trying to teach it. You say, okay, this is a gun. Everybody looks at it. This is, a gun, but you correct it, and it remembers and doesn't make that mistake again.
All right, if you have any questions, everybody, please enter them into the chat box. Kris,
we do have one question. Is Skyla dwell time monitoring for parking lots the same as pedestrian loitering detection?
Yes, pedestrian loitering, whether it's vehicles loitering or humans loitering, indoors, outdoors, anywhere you want to put it, we can identify that in real time.
And then one more, do you have videos for detection demos and real-time detections?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Do you have videos for detection demos and real-time detections?
Yes, all of our detections are in real time. So instead of, if you have 1,000 cameras and you have a video wall, it's like having 1,000 humans each watching one-to-one. And so when we're monitoring those video streams, our AI is monitoring those in real time. It sees that threat, whether it's a gun, knife, fight, PPE, whatever it is you tell it to look for. That's when we trigger that real-time alert, goes to a human, whether it's the monitoring facility or a mobile device, and asks for that human's verification. And, is this a real threat? And then they either act on it or they ignore it. And we have multiple videos on our YouTube channel. Skyla has a YouTube channel.
There is another question about the pricing model and what that looks like.
The way that we price is we are a subscription model. And so we can provide that either monthly, if you're a monitoring facility, we can do that annually, biannually, and that's our model.
And last question I see here, who would you contact for additional information about active projects?
For active projects, you can contact me directly, Kris Greiner at Skyla AI, and we'll make sure that a Skyla person gets back to you and follows up with you.
And for Mobotix, you can reach out to really anybody on the Mobotix side, but you can reach out to me. So it's vin.imbesi@mobotix.com.
Awesome. That's all we got, and unless anybody else had any other questions to drop into the chat.
Well, appreciate
we're good.
Appreciate everybody taking time to look at it. And again, Mobotix and Skyla, it's like chocolate and peanut butter. So it works well together.
Feel free to reach out to us with questions. We'll help you out. Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.